on The Source.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry. Today, once again, we're going to continue in this investigative report as it relates to the Torres family. Many people may have thought that we would have let this go by now, but we're right in the heart of it. We're still waiting for some people to get back to us, and we're not going to let this issue go. As a matter of fact, we've been planning all week strategically to make sure that we make a difference in the lives of African American and Latino people in the city of Wilmington and the state of Delaware. Let me say real quickly that this is going to be interesting as we continue to move forward. We've watched the various people on our regular media channels who really have expressed an interest in how they are treated. I'm shocked to find out how many people are suffering in the same way, where they've been lied on, where they've been forced out, where they've been disrespected, and we have to bring a stop to it. I just want to say to every person, never believe that because Dr. Martin Luther King has a holiday after his name, that everybody liked him, everybody loved him. As a matter of fact, even in the African American community, there were many ministers and others who could not stand his guts because they just felt he was doing too much. In order for the voiceless to be heard, someone of power, someone of influence, someone who has media outlets need to be able to speak up and not continue to be bought by people who think all they have to do is issue us a little promise, a little fish sandwich, a little chicken dinner, and then we'll go away silent. Today on The Source, we're going to continue and follow up on the things that we were talking about with The Source. We're going to make sure we talk a little bit about the feud that may be within the African American community as it relates to leadership, and we're going to end today talking about protests, because all three of those is what matters as we are moving forward slowly, but not in a hurry. And we're back. Today, I kind of miss my hosts and my co-hosts who are normally with us, Councilwoman Shanae Darby, as well as Kobe Owens, who are both certainly on assignments doing what they have to do as they continue to change the world that we live upon. This is the last week that I'll do it by myself. We'll go back to normal broadcasting, but we will definitely keep this as the focal point until we get some answers. Today's show, as I shared at the opening, that we're going to look and share with you where we are thus far and what is happening so that you will stay informed and that you will also know that we will just not let this go. We're also going to talk about today the feud that is really happening within the African American community. Our co-host, shall I say, Councilwoman Shanae Darby made some comments in one of our shows, and because I want to make sure we have a true understanding of where we are, I may need to push back a little bit on some of her comments, and I'm sure when she comes back to the show, she's going to push back again, because that's what we do. We're not going to stifle her or stifle me, but we have to be able to share our opinions in a very, very strong and sincere matter. And finally, we're going to talk about protests, because I think that's something that we're going to have to do. I found out that protest is for the powerless to get power. And all too often we forget that during the civil rights movement, we really needed this whole notion of the civil rights movement and the protests. It's gotten us many things that we are benefiting today. So for those of you who have grown tired, those of you who have grown weary and saying, look, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of that. Listen, it's never going to stop until we stand up, and we have to stand up united. So let me start this show today by talking a little bit about the Torres family. And for those of you who are just coming in and you're just trying to figure out what is going on the 1800 block of Delaware Avenue. There is a attorney who decided that she didn't not want to see this Latino and this African American living next door to her. Now, I've heard many different reports from people that she's friends with saying, "Hey, it was not about color." Matter of fact, I've read some of the blogs. It's not about color. Everything is not about color. I saw with some of these candidates who happens to be African American, who basically don't want to call anything what it is. Whenever you feel that you are better, it's called white privilege, and we're not going to tolerate it. I don't think there is no reason in the world why she would let a man coming back from walking his dog and be nice and kind, and as my Aunt Lil would say, nice and nasty, and then cuss him to the level with such anger that she did, and not say that is not a discrimination or what I would call beyond harassment. That has to be racism because you think you're better than the person that you're speaking to. And she also called him a rodent. So those things I want to make sure stay at the front. But that's where we are as it relates to why we are still going after this case. Has anything changed, Pastor Curry? Yes, some stuff have changed behind the scenes. I've been given some issues, some promises that things are going to happen, but I am not going to stop until what is in private becomes public. Because all too often, this is what happens in our community. We get the promises that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and then we go ahead and stop our protests, we go ahead and stop our complaints, and then it never comes to fruition. That is not going to happen with this. We're going to continue to pound at this until the public see that with consistency and persistency, you can make a difference in this world. So what the Terezes are doing now is they're being quiet. We're praying. We're keeping them calm and telling them, look, we need patience. We cannot be in a hurry. We have to slow walk this, because if we don't, we can misstep, and then she'll have an opportunity to continue to do the hateful things that she does, because that's what a lot of the other folks of power is waiting for us to have a misstep so that they can cover her and keep her in the positions and doing the things that she's doing against people of color. Not going to happen. I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to walk gingerly, and I'm going to make sure that we handle this appropriately. Now, let me just tell you, there are 3 people who I am waiting for a response in public. There are 3 people, and I've reached out to them by phone. I've reached out to them by text message. I've even sent certain literature to them and even the shows. So they cannot say, I don't have a clue on what Curry is talking about. The first person I'm looking forward to hearing from, especially in a public forum, because I've been told very clearly that the police department have already issued their facts. Their facts indicate that there is some crime that may have been committed here. I'm waiting for the Attorney General to make a declaration. She has to be able to say, yes, this is a crime, or no, it is not. Give us the opportunity to hear your position. I know that, this attorney is well, established, and I know that she's probably a part of the Sunshine Band and a part of the Let's Have Tea Club. But listen, you poked the wrong bear. And I'm grateful that the Terezes did not respond. Many of the people who I've watched, I've listened, I've heard, my staff have shared with me on blogs are saying they're just waiting for her, the Terezes. They're just waiting for them to make the wrong move, and then they were going to get them. But they didn't. There should be some reward for an African American and a Latino who held their peace, especially when that woman disrespected their child. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So, Attorney General Jennings, you can hide, but you won't be able to hide long. You need to be able to respond. And those who are in her office and you are maintaining your silence because this doesn't look good politically, let me assure you, we will remember. And I'm on a different level now. At one point, I just used to say it with the hopes that the community would support me. But I'm at this point in my life where I'm not going to let it die. We're going to use the vehicles that we have to ensure that the community that I love so dearly and that we respect so highly are well aware of those who are frauding us, those who are playing games. If this was a black woman or a black man, a Latino woman or a Latino man who did what she did and have it on video, it would not take 3 weeks after everything have been presented for there to be an arrest, a charge, or something. We have to stop, African American community, being so kind to these individuals. When election time comes around, they have these private meetings. How are we going to keep the blacks in order and in line? This has to stop. And I am not listening to those who want to continue to say he's race baiting. Well, if that is what it is, you can label it that. I'm labeling it giving a voice to the voiceless. Attorney General Jennings, we are waiting for a response from you. The second person I'm waiting for a response from, and when I say we, is the Speaker of the House of Representatives here in the state of Delaware. We're waiting. You received a text message from me. You received 3 phone calls from me straight to your cell phone. Oh, I didn't call the office because it's easy to say the secretary didn't let me know. But Pete, you said it on your phone. This is Pete. I'll get back to you. Leave a message. I did it. I left 2 messages, very clear, without any confrontation. I've shared with you the facts that we have. I've even sent you a video so that you can see the facts for yourself. You cannot afford to allow this type of person to continue to serve as the lead lawyer for the state of Delaware in the House of Representatives. This is unacceptable. Even if it's not even if she's committed no crime. Let's say that and be clear on this. Even if she's committed no crime, how could you have this type of representation there controlling the lawyers? And as I'm told and as I'm finding out, you have very few minority lawyers that are there. And some of them who are there, maybe 1 or 2, maybe, if any, very concerned. I'm very concerned. How could you be this silent? I understand you not wanting to just jump in front of it and so, as you all have quoted it, a personnel matter. If it's a personnel matter, then announce to the community that she has decided to resign and the case is closed from your office. But to allow her to continue to perpetrate what she's perpetrated and stay in her position is not good for the people who have elected you. And I call on all of our representatives from not only the African American community, because I'm finding that it's not there's those who are not African American who are very disturbed with how you all are handling this, number one, and what she did, number two. I don't live in the city of Wilmington. I live in another section of the state, and I'm very clear with my representative. We're not going to tolerate this. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Speaker, make a decision and make it public. Because if you cannot make it public, then you are a public servant. You can't make your decision in private. You don't have that liberty. That was one of the issues that they had at the city of Wilmington City Council. Well, we vote privately. No, when you are elected by the people, you do not make private decisions. You make a public decision because we trust you. That's why we voted for you. And our legislators voted you as Speaker of the House because we had confidence in you. I hope our confidence is not put to shame. Mr. Speaker of the House, we're waiting for a response from you. And finally, I'm waiting for a response from the mayor of the city of Wilmington. It is a fact, we have the proof, that the L&I went to Terez's home. And when they went to the Terez's home, there was questions asked, such as, is there running water? Because that claim was put in by the attorney. Is there electricity? How do you come to a person's house after hours? How are we using taxpayers' money to allow staff to be called in to investigate a fraudulent claim? and you not make a statement, even if it's not illegal. And I'm going to keep saying this because people are waiting for the attorney general to make her decision. But even if it's not illegal, certain other people owe us an explanation. And Mr. Mayor, you owe the African American and Latino community an explanation. How did your L&I go and go to their houses while this woman is preparing her day for the next, preparing herself for the next day, and question her? And the questions they asked could have been answered, but it was the intimidation factor of L&I pulling up, going to the house, trying to appease what this woman falsely accused them of. This is wrong, Mr. Mayor. You want to run for your third term. You want people to be quiet. You don't want this to be a race issue. Well, don't make it one. Had I done that, had I went to the city and said that something is going wrong, it would not even been heard. How do I know that's true? Because I done called the city 14, 15 times already to try to get an answer on this, and they won't even return the call. This is preposterous. Certain words I love, but here's the one I love the most. This is egregious. And Mr. Mayor, you have to do better. You have to show the African American community that the riverfront is not your only focus. And 8th district, we know it's majority white, but the 8th district should not be where we cover our own and expose, as this woman, the attorney put it, a rodent or the rodents. Mr. Mayor, you have a decision. And your decision is whether or not you're going to come out, because you don't have the privilege of a private response neither. And I'm hopeful, after having some conversations with the media, they're going to start joining us. And they're going to be asking the same questions. What are you going to do? Why did your L&I go out there? The things that you wanted to find out, you could have found that out, but that was the intimidation piece that this woman wanted, and y'all satisfied. In your administration, he worked, Commissioner Borkins worked for you. L&I is under your portfolio. And I think you deserve a response. And your response needs to be public. Many people have said on the streams, they said, you know, Pastor Curry, did you give the attorney the opportunity to share her side of the story? Yes. I've asked her when I called her office. I've asked her on the show. Please come. Explain to the people why you did what you did. I'm open. I am a scholar. No, I'm not as smart as some other people, but all of my degrees are authentic and they are real. And I just cannot understand why she would do this, but I need to be able to hear from her, but she won't respond. Because when you're guilty, you hide. And when you don't want to deal with an issue as a mayor or as what do you call it, the Speaker of the House or even the Attorney General, you hide. But the African American community, they have a person today, right now, for this issue, who's not going to allow that. And I cannot be bought or bossed because I have not been bought in the past and will not be bought in this current time or in the future. I do believe in compromise, but not when it comes down to our integrity and our principles. I really need, Mr. Mayor, for you to tell us, what are you going to do? Are you going to have this conversation? Are you going to say, look, I apologize because that should not have happened? You owe us an explanation. You're going to ask us for our vote. But I'm going to remind the community, if you do not do something, I'm going to remind the community that you went silent in your own district when a person in your district where you live, who probably are your friends, was wrong and treated a family as if they were garbage and trash. You just didn't say nothing. And you can always say it was because it was Pastor Curry why I didn't. We're not going to buy that. You have a responsibility to be the mayor for everybody. And I want to end this segment by showing you something. everybody. Harassment is going on across this country. We're bringing it up now in the city of Wilmington, but a lot of these little small towns are having this issue. Just this week, a mother of 4 was being harassed by a white woman, and her children were being harassed. We don't know all the details and all the facts, but what I do know as a fact is after this woman ran off, and according to one of the white women as well as a black woman, you'll see this in this piece I'm getting ready to show you all, she had called them some really horrible names. The N-word came out of her mouth when dealing with these children. And what I don't think what European people understand is when you mess with a black woman's family, children, there's a different level of anger. That's why I give credit to Miss Therese for not choking the woman who tried to harass her honor roll student. Give her credit. If you want to wind up a black woman or even a black male, because I'm there, hurt their children, do something to their children. This white woman ran these young kids from wherever they were playing. One of them left its laptop. She would not give the laptop back. The mother came home and their children told what happened. Mom is upset now because this woman has done some things that she felt was disrespectful to her children. She goes to the house, and as she's knocking on the door, banging on the door, whichever language y'all want to use, this white woman said, "Hey, I can get her now because she's knocking on my door." Not in her house. The door is not open. And through the door, she shot this woman to death. And just like y'all doing with the Thereses, we got to make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed before we make an arrest or before we give a charge. We got to look at this. And when we do something, we get shot for running. We get shot down whenever we try to justify our being. But no, not this woman. We're going to give her an opportunity to really get her story together and so forth and so on. Look at this, what happened right in Marion County in Florida. Look at this.
In Ocala this morning, a woman is under arrest days after she shot and killed her neighbor through her front door.
Now, the woman told deputies she fired at the mom of 4 in self-defense, but the sheriff says it's just not the case. And Regina Gonzalez is following the latest she's in the newsroom with all of this. Good morning, Regina.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, deputies are saying this was not a stand your ground case, but a tragic ending to a nearly 2-year-long feud between these neighbors. Ajika Owens, who also goes by AJ, leaves behind 4 young children, and one of them was right beside her when she was shot while trying to approach this neighbor about another incident. The neighbor accused of pulling the trigger was officially identified as 58-year-old Susan Lawrence. She was officially arrested yesterday on charges of manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and assault. This is footage of that arrest. On the day of the shooting, reports said Lawrence was overheard yelling and arguing with AJ's children who were playing in a nearby field and then threw a rollerblade skate at the 9-year-old son, which hit him in his toe. When the boy and his brother went to talk to Lawrence about what happened, she then opened the door and swung an umbrella at them. After AJ went over to Lawrence's house to confront her about the allegations, deputies said Lawrence fired 1 shot through her closed front door and struck AJ in the chest. She later died at the hospital. Now, the days after the shooting, family and community members held rallies and vigils and endlessly called the sheriff's department, pleading for them to arrest Lawrence. Sheriff Billy Woods actually admitted that they wanted to arrest her the night this happened, but had to follow proper protocol in regards to Florida's stand your ground law.
A lot of people don't understand is that law has specific instructions for us in law enforcement. And any time that we think or perceive or believe that that might come into play, we cannot make an arrest. The law specifically says that. And what we have to rule out is whether the deadly force was justified or not before we can even make the arrest. And sometimes it becomes difficult, and sometimes it becomes an obstacle.
Now, records show that 911 had been called a half a dozen times since 2021 involving Lawrence and AJ Owens. In one case in February of 2022, the neighbor called 911 to file a complaint against AJ because a dog was on her property. The neighbor told deputies that she and AJ got into an argument and AJ allegedly threw a no trespassing sign at her, but there was actually no physical contact. Now, in a news release earlier this week, prominent civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who was representing AJ's family, said Lawrence told the kids to get off of her land and previously hurled racial slurs at them, but deputies have yet to confirm that information. Crump will actually hold a press conference regarding the arrest today at noon.
Okay, all right. Regina Gonzalez, live for us this morning. Thank you, Regina.
We're back. One of the things I want to start doing is I want to start empowering the African American and Latino community, that we don't have to just depend upon our politicians who sometimes sell us out. Sometimes we find that we have some politicians who are there for us, who work hard for us, and really make a difference. And then there are times when we have politicians who just lie to us. The better word is prevaricate to us. But there is a power that we have that you have to start enforcing. And that's called the First Amendment, the freedom to protest, the freedom to speak. If you really want to get the attention of those who have power, mess with their money or their reputation, and you get their attention. I remember when we were doing racism in state government, and there was 3 ministers, myself and 2 others. And some great work was done with IMAC. I mean, some great work. We were able to expose some stuff, and man, it was just wonderful because we were able to show, without a shadow of a doubt, that racism was alive and well in the state government of Delaware, in Delaware State. But what we discovered after a little time is that it started weaning off, and people started getting bought. People start getting this and getting that. And when you have resolute people like me, I don't believe in stopping until we got an end result. But one of the things that scared and spooked some people in the African American community is when I would make comments like, we need to shut 95 down. I would make comments like, we need to protest not allowing certain people to go to work because we are in their way. We need to bring CNN in here and Fox News and everybody to show that this little humble place is not as humble as it appears. Only when there's continued murder do we get national attention, because it's black on black crime. Then the news media come in and people are all right because, look, we're trying our best, but we got all these blacks killing each other. But we're going to have to really start handling our ability to protest when things like this happen. The Terezes are middle-class citizens in the city of Wilmington. Both he and his wife are working full-time jobs, and they're trying to provide a good life for their children, their son who is still at home. For them to be faced with what they're faced with is a true evidence that it is happening across the city, across the state. It's just happening. When we look at the blogs, we see that people say, this thing happened to me. And I found out, and I don't have facts on this yet, but we got enough information that I can just say it without giving to you as a factual statement. Next week, I will give it as a factual when I get my evidence in. That there's a reason why this attorney left the district attorney's office. There was an investigation. She did something there. And there was a recommendation that she be removed. I'll have my facts right, because I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be like her. I'm not going to say too much that's going to cause me a problem. But she was removed. But look at how the good old boys club do for people who are not African American and Latino. they find other ways of blessing them and keeping them in power. She left the district attorney's office and then she lands a nice job as the lead lawyer in the House of Representatives. This is the stuff that aggravates me. But we're going to have to start using our power. We don't need a whole lot. You heard me say this earlier. Dr. King didn't have a lot of people with him because people would rather celebrate a dead hero than a living one any day. Say it again, Pastor. People would rather celebrate a dead hero than a living one any day. When he was living, he was one of the most hated people, not just in the Caucasian community, but in the Black community too. They just thought he was too much. He was too extra. But then when he died, he became their hero. That's one of the things that I often say. I'm not looking for praise or glory from people. We're going to have to take some of his methods. He said, listen, we don't need violence because that's how they win. You act violent, they come violent at you, and then they win. Because they got the lawyers, the attorneys, and the cameras to be able to prove that you're violent. We're going to have to really start thinking about our power. And our power is in protest. This week, I'm going to just share a couple things with you, and I'm going to build this. Because at some point, we might have to really have a movement where we start agitating some of this racism. I always use the washing machine theory. Years ago, before they got this modern technology, you used to have the agitator, which was the middle of the washing machine that causes your stuff to wish, and they agitate all the dirt out. In order for us to be heard, we're going to have to start agitating. We don't have to fight. We don't have to cuss. But we can mess with the economy. We can shut some stuff down. And I have some methods by which, because I'm not from Wilmington, I'm from another place, and where I'm from, you heard. The ministers are heard. They're not bought, because if we ever found out that a minister is bought, that minister gets shunned. A politician can't just come in and bring a chicken nuggets from McDonald's and say, hey, haven't I been great? That is something that just cannot be accepted. What have you done will be the question. So going back to it, we're going to have to exercise the power of protest. And I've been doing some legal work on it because I know there's certain things we're going to have to do, I'm going to have to do as the person who wants to make this happen to really make things work. For example, we know that, if we do something illegal in our protest, now you have the right to protest. There's no law in Delaware that says you can't protest. Some protests you got to get a permit for, others you do not. But if you found in violation of illegally protesting, it's a misdemeanor. And for people like myself who've never, ever received any form of suspension from school or something in violation of the law, other than I did get a ticket, a couple months ago. Beyond that, not months ago, years ago, I'm all right with getting a misdemeanor for my people. And I'm going to be looking, I've already got several already, but I'm going to be looking for some people who don't mind taking the chance. We'll make sure the legal side of it is taken care of. We're going to make sure if there's a penalty that it's going to be paid, because our people are suffering. And a lot of times they're suffering in silence because they have no power. This woman can be forced out of a job and get a job the next day. If we get forced out, we are marked for life. If he's Iron Fair, put me out tomorrow. Boy, what other church would take me? And not because I can't preach, not because I'm not a good administrator, but because that's just the way the system in America is made up. And this woman has power. That's why we put race on it. The ism is the power. White privilege is what this country was founded on, not on as it was founded. And I'm concerned about it. So this week, I just want to start letting you know that we're doing the research. And no, we're not going to give a lot of plans over the air, because if they know what you're doing, they know how to plan for you. Hezekiah, if you allow me to be spiritual for just biblical for one moment, he got into trouble because Hezekiah showed people all of what the Lord had done. And while preaching that message years ago, the Lord revealed to me that the reason why they came in and stole and took everything he had is because he showed them what he was working with. And if you ever pay attention to my style, you never know. Just like the mayor made sure they blocked me building that senior housing. They think they got me, but that was me being transparent. I put the signs out. They got with Hanifa and all the rest of them, and let's fight them. Let's make sure he don't get this one through. While my seniors are suffering, I shared. I kept it open because I wanted the community to know that we're working to help. But this round won't be a lot of talking. Going back to the protests, we're not going to give out plans because we know only 60, 70% of those who show up are going to be with you anyway. But we will have enough to be able to agitate quietly, agitate, show up, slow things down, stop stuff, and have the attorneys available, maybe not from the state of Delaware, but for where we need them to be able to bail out if need be. Because the Terezes are listening to a preacher right now. Al Sharpton did not get as big as he is for nothing. Jesse Jackson did not get as big as they are. And I know I'll never get big because I'm not looking for fame. But you got to find people who are willing to fight with you. When they tried to kill one of our senators here in this state, I was no personal friend to that senator, but I know what racism looks like. I know what a setup looks like. Being born in the projects, it taught me a whole lot. I went to the university, but it wasn't at the university that I learned about the facts of life and the racism that occurs on a daily basis. So we're going to begin the process. Matter of fact, we're already in the heat of it. I'm going to continue to show. Next week, we're going to have our show. It's going to come back. And when our show comes back, we're going to do what we do normally, but we're going to continue to give you updates. But there's a coalition that is being formed where we're going to agitate. If we don't get responses, and please don't think this is threats. This is not threats. And anyone who knows me, and I think for those of you who are in the mayor's office, especially the few of you who went to HBCUs, you should really tell the mayor he ain't threatening right now. We need to move. Especially those of you who went to historically black colleges. I was president of student government for 3 years. You don't become the president of student government at HBCU, Lincoln University, especially the oldest historically black college in the country, if you don't understand politics. You don't pastor a church as large as the church that we pastor today with the members that I have today if you don't understand politics. You're not able to navigate the fake, phony folks who smile in your face and you continue to move forward knowing they're trying to kill you if you don't understand the politics. I'm not in a hurry. Methodically and very, very, very carefully, we're going to make sure that the Terezes understand they did the right thing, and we're going to hold people accountable. So I'm throwing out there today protests, not unorganized. It's going to be organized. Do I need everybody to know? The cameras will be there so you can see when the times happen. But we are looking for the Attorney General. We're giving you some time as you sift through the information that has been given to you. We're giving not only the Attorney General, but we also are giving the Speaker of the House some time as you sift through the stuff that you need to sift through. And Mr. Mayor, while she is not under your preview, can I be honest with you? We're giving you some time because you need to respond to this African-American community. You live in the community. This happened in your district. If you can't control your district and racism in your district, how are you going to be able to control the city? It's interesting. But I just want to make sure I keep you thinking? Protest is the way the powerless get power. That's what protest is. It gives you an opportunity from your First Amendment right to stand up, speak up, and shut down things in order that you may be able to move forward. I'm looking forward to the responses, and I'm also looking forward to the fun if the responses does not come in the appropriate manner and appropriate. We'll be right back.
FDP! 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 سمع الله لمن حمده.
There's a new black man in America today.
And we're back. The last segment of this show, I just want to address something that happened on our show just a couple of weeks ago. One of our co-hosts, Councilwoman Sinead Darby, whom I support 100%, made some accusations, and I want to make sure that we're clear. Now, what she shared, there were some facts to what she shared. That is not my concern. But, you know, the old saints, the old people who taught me, the seasoned people taught me that we don't air out our business in public for reasons, because if certain people hear that there's a lot of division going on, then when we try to make things happen, it doesn't happen. But I want to really address it because it's important. One of her claims were, one of them was that there's no organizations that are really representing and supporting Black people. And while I feel like that many days, I got to be honest. And when she said it, I was kind of saying, yeah, I feel you, because we have a whole lot of them here in the city of Wilmington, and some of them are bought. Some of them allow the mayor to come in and speak as if he's a part of them. And it does trouble those of us who are just trying to blow the whistle of it's not right how we're treated. And while she was talking, there were several things she said. And one of the things is she went straight after the NAACP, of which I'm a life member of. And while I agree with her with the Wilmington chapter, because who knows what's going on, I could not become a part of the Wilmington chapter because I never know when the meetings are. I never know when there's anything. Matter of fact, every time I go, I hear about a breakfast or something, but that's about it. With all the stuff that was going on and all the stuff that is happening, for the Wilmington chapter not to be involved in any of it is a problem. But where I'm gonna push back a little bit with Shanae is this right here. We cannot say the NAAP is not representing Black people because Mouse, J Street, and a couple others, and I can't name everybody, and please forgive me if I didn't name your name. They've run up and down this state fighting for people of color. And I mean, they're 1 minute they're in Lewis because of a Confederate flag, the next minute they're in this place, and they have had many battles in legal, and they've won a lot of them. There are people who fight hard. And I don't want, as much as sometimes me and Mouse go at it, because we do, but that's because it's like a father to a son. Me challenging him to be, that this is my thoughts, and he's challenging me. But that's a father to a son relationship, and that's good for the African American community. But for us to say that he ain't doing nothing is just not fair, and it's not correct. The state may not be running the way that some people think it should run with the NAACP, but I'm gonna be honest with you, and she'll be on the show next week, and I'm sure she'll have something to say, and I'm fine with that because we have a right to our opinions, we have a right to our facts, but at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. The state NAACP have been moving very strong, and there are many things that they have involved themselves in that really help. When Moyer was up against a wall, it was the NAACP that came through strong, that came to every meeting, and who was at the helm of that? Mouse. We know that's not his real name, but that's what we call him. Richard Smith was that person, and he was there. J Street didn't even believe in charter schools. He believed in public education. But when we put the call out how they were treating Black people, he said, you can't give something and then take it. He found the grounds to not be a hypocrite and support even Moyer Academy. To all of you who listen to me, let's not be so anxious when we got an issue and the issues are not going in our favor or people are not responding to us in the way that we feel they ought to. We immediately label everybody. Because I know her feelings. I know there are times when I'm saying, why is this person selling us out? Why is this organization selling us out? But one of the things about it, we have a few people who are strong and supporting Africa. And everybody does things differently. You have Mouse and Street and all those great guys and women who go up and down and call a spade, fight up against everybody. Don't matter. You do wrong, they're going to deal with you. And everybody know you don't want Street on you. But, even when you look at our politicians, everybody is different how they handle stuff. You have not heard a lot from Senator Darius Brown. But boy, the way he has supported the African American community over the last several years have been unbelievable. That's why the lies couldn't stick. Because some people stood up and said, you know what, we're not going to play this game. Black man getting this much power, and then all of a sudden, stripping ain't going to happen. That man has done a lot in the African American community and in the Latino community. And I would be a disgrace if I did not share with you that even though he don't scream and holler and cuss people out, he's working for our community. We can easily talk about Stephanie Bolden. We can talk about Stephanie Bolden. Great woman, powerful, big on the education side of the house, making sure that equitably we're receiving what we need to receive. We can go there and say, listen, she's not one who's going to cuss people out, but she's working in a system that is not designed for her to work in, but she's making a difference. We can talk about, as we often joke, the favorite state representative, our good friend Sherry Dorsey. We can easily say, hey, who is put more legislation to the front to make sure that African American people were being heard? She's not one who run all over the place cussing folks out. She's always thanking you, Jesus, and hallelujah. But she's still making sure our agenda is being met. To say there's nobody representing us is just injustice. It's not real. I can easily jump over to Tizzy Lockerman. I remember when we met about some things, and I was the first time I really met her. Outstanding woman. She's making stuff happen. She's not loud and boisterous. She's making stuff happen. Then we have we already talked about Jay Street because he's with the NAACP, but he's with the county too. And there is no issues that can happen in the county that affects African Americans, and he's not there. We can also talk about Penrose. He's quiet, very polished, but don't you ever think Penrose is a pushover. He supports us and he works for us. So to answer our sister's call, there are people in different places doing the best they can with what they have to work with. I could talk about Eugene Young. If you just want me to keep talking about people, I could talk about how he has used this whole housing piece to really build up and starting to make an impact on affordable housing in the state of Delaware. Because a person does not do things the way we do it, doesn't mean they're not working. I beg City Council not to look at her aggression, meaning Shanae Darby, and count her out. Use her energy and make her stronger. And I hope and trust that y'all will take the time to see her heart and not some of the charges that she may throw out. And today I come to you as the end part of this session to say to Brother Mouse, yes, the attack was that the NAACP is doing nothing. I disagree with that. You have worked countless hours. Yes, you've bought many people memberships into the NAACP because you want to make sure that it stays strong and stay vibrant for the generations to come. And I applaud you, and it is not illegal. Sure, everything is not done according to the bylaws. Look at what's going on in Wilmington. Look at what's going on in the NAACP branch of the Wilmington chapter. It's a one-man show. But I beg you, Mouse and all of you who are fighting hard for African-American people, do not be dismayed. Do not be discouraged. Stand strong. Be resolute. Because the other folks, what they want is for us to fight. Notice, I haven't come after IMAC. I was removed. I didn't come after them. You know why? Because I'm all right. And I understand that's what some people want. They want Pastor Curry to beat up on IMAC, but IMAC is a good organization with some good people. Now, there's some bad there too, but there's some good people there. And I don't want to kill the institution because of a few rotten apples, maybe. We look at people like Pastor D, who has done a phenomenal job in what he does and how he does it. He's helped a lot of people. You've not heard me criticizing that man. He don't do it my way. I'm sorry. He does it his way. But there are people who can stand and testify that that man helped them. We have to start appreciating each other in the African American community and stop fighting each other. Because when we fight each other, they win. That's why I did not allow anybody to assist in this but this show. People ask, and Mouse called me immediately, and others have called. Let me help you. Let me do this. I said, let's leave it alone. Let's just wait. There will be a time when we all can come together. Because they're looking for who they can get in. They're looking for the breach. And the more organizations that join in, the breaches come. The secrets are told. People have asked me, Pastor, I want to help. I want to help. I want to help. I got calls from all over the place. I want to help. Hold up. Let's continue to do what we're doing. I think we have the greatest and the strongest group of African Americans in the world. Some have sold us out. Some have hoodwinked us. But there's a whole lot of them who have worked hard for us. And my hat goes off to all of you who work for African American and Latinos across this state and across the country. But what I will never do is I will never lambaste everybody for the few who may not. Yes, we got people, especially on that city council here in Wilmington, who just want to enrich themselves. You hear me using that name, Hanifa Shabazz, all the time because I'm really shocked. When I first came to the city, she was one of the women I really admired. When we were on 12th Street, I really admired her. I thought that she was really a part of the African-American community, changed her name and everything. But as she began to get the power and the money, it just forget about you. And even now, how can I enrich myself? The things that she's working on, how can I enrich myself? Can't happen. She's a part of that committee, that crew that gives the breaches. The mayor didn't want to bring over here to the South Bridge warehouses, and you haven't heard her hollering too much. But when the pastor want to bring over some housing to help our poor seniors, she's on the call making the most noise. They know what they're doing. So for the few African Americans who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, you need to get it right, because you will be exposed. For those who are doing what they're supposed to be doing, continue to do that. And when Shanae Darby makes her comments, I'm going to ask her not to generalize. She's an educated woman. And even if you talk about something, a private conversation that happened with maybe Mouse or you or whatever, some things that should not be done in public. And as an older brother, because I'm older than she is, I think I owe her the opportunity to be able to share her views. But I have to be able to say, that's generalizing, and it's not fair. I thank you for the time that we've shared together today, and I hope that this show was good for you. And I know people are going to criticize, but we will not let this issue go. The Terez family, hats off to you. We are continuously praying for you. We're going to continue to meet. We're going to continue to do what we have to do, that you may be successful in what we are trying to get accomplished. Thank all of you for all of your comments. Thank you for your support, and you will be hearing from me. God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Source. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 5 p.m.